Hello, and welcome to the hosted datasets in the ecosystem video, which is part of the 7 Bridges onboarding lesson. While watching this video, please keep in mind 3 key concepts. The first is that NHLBI hosts the data in the ecosystem in cloud buckets, and it supports the data storage costs for all this data. Because study data is not moved, but only symbolically linked to workspaces, researchers do not need to spend time moving data or paying any additional storage or egress costs. Finally, there's a wide range of data available to researchers that include TopMed, COVID-19, as well as other important open training datasets. At the end of this module, you will be able to understand the depth and the breadth of the hosted datasets available and understand how data access works in this ecosystem. Let's start by talking how data access works and how data is hosted. NHLBI ingests the research data and puts it into Google and AWS buckets. NHLBI owns these buckets. The data is then put into a file management system and made accessible to an authorization service. Access is programmatically controlled by this authorization service. When a researcher chooses to access any particular piece of data, their approval status are read from dbGaP programmatically. All platforms can access all data. The same data is hosted on AWS as well as Google. Let's talk about the different types of data that are available to you. Some of these categories include genotype, phenotype, whole genome sequences, as well as ancestry and kinship information. Popular formats for genotypes include VCF. These are generally multi-sample per chromosome files that are also broken down into consent groups. Genotypes in GDS format can also be found in combined exchange areas. The phenotypes are archived as .tar or .tar.gz. Whole genome sequences are generally in CRAM files, and they include the CRAM index with them. And ancestry and kinship data are stored in various file formats and are available in the TopMed combined exchange area. Some of the data is controlled, and as I mentioned earlier, this means that the platform will programmatically check your dbGaP credentials to make sure that you have appropriate access levels. The TopMed data are controlled data sets, and they contain heart, lung, and blood disease, as well as sleep disorder studies. The files available are from Freeze5, Freeze8, and Freeze9. Another data set of interest that is controlled is the COVID-19 data. Some of the COVID-19 studies are listed here. BioData Catalyst also has a lot of open access data, and this is great for students to have something they can use while learning cloud computing and analysis. Open data is also great for testing tools and workflows, for testing your algorithms using different types of studies, as well as benchmarking your analysis before scaling up to your full study population. Important open access data sets include BioLink, and includes training files for Framingham, Camp, and Digitalis. The 1000 Genomes Project is another great open data set, and it's accessible to all users. This includes over 6,000 files in total, including the WGS CRAM and WGS VCF for over 3,000 subjects. On BioData Catalyst, powered by 7 Bridges, you can use the data browser to find open as well as controlled hosted datasets. The platform will let you access only the files for which you have appropriate approvals to use. But it's also a great way to browse the breadth and depth of the different studies that are hosted. You can do this all through a graphical user interface. I hope you now have a better understanding of the hosted datasets. And there's some key takeaways I want you to leave with. The first is that NHLBI hosts a wide range of data. and some of it requires you to have appropriate db-GET permissions. Because the data is linked back to the NHLBI cloud buckets, researchers do not have to pay for raw data storage costs. And finally, there is a wide range of data available to you, including TopMed, COVID, as well as open training data. This concludes the video. The next suggested video for you to watch is called Find Hosted Study Files with Data Browser.